I had a major issue, though. Now, Bridges denied it, or at least Tibbs said that it didn't happen.
Yeah.
I had a major issue with those comments. Good to see Bridges finally starting to show something here in the absence of Brunson knocking down that big shot Knicks to get the win in Portland. But I don't like the idea of a player, especially in his first year, telling the coach he should be going to the bench more often.
Then tell the coach in a way that is not condescending to anybody. He's trying to be a teammate. I mean, the one thing I will say about these guys, Hart, Brunson, and Bridges, those guys love each other. And they are all playing well together. He hits a big three last night, late at night. If you didn't see it, it was an overtime victory. It was a scintillating three-point shot. It was perfectly executed by he and Josh Hart. But the point being, from his perspective, Sal, is that, there are guys on the bench that don't really get a chance to play a lot. And all he is saying is that we have a good bench. We have good guys. They can play some more. And maybe he's advocating for them as opposed to trying to protect the older guys that are playing a lot more. And last night, they all played over 40 minutes.
But don't you think that's undermining? Like, I agree with what you're saying. It was
I think that's leader-like. I think it's like embracing the rest of the team.
But he's telling the head coach how to operate.
No, all he's doing is making a suggestion. I don't have any problem with that. He's been around for a long time. He's a quality player. He's a good dude. He got off to a slow start, a little erratic earlier in the season. He plays defense. He plays hard. He hits a big shot last night. His shot has started to come around here in the second half of the season. I have no problem with any of that. I was listening to those guys arguing about it yesterday. I said, there's really nothing to argue about. He's just advocating for, hey, we got a good bench. Let some guys play a little bit more.
Right. I just felt like, and maybe it's because of all the media and fans about Tibbs and the minutes, and then you have a new guy, because Bridges, he's been a pro for a while here, but he's his first year with the Knicks. He hasn't fit in very well. He's been disappointing, and now he is saying...
Wait, you say he's disappointing. I don't say he's disappointing. I think he's been a defensive guy. I think his shot has come around. I thought he was erratic in the beginning, probably trying too hard, a little bit nervous, trying to figure out how to fit in, When you put all these guys together for the first time, they all have to figure each other's role out and how to play with each other. He's not been disappointing for me.
All right, so you tell me, from a former player perspective, a leader yourself, right? A player comes in year one, even if you're good with other players, you have no issue with him going to the head coach in this case, saying that, hey, maybe you should look to give these guys a better opportunity on the bench. You look at that as a good thing in that
locker room?
It
would be one thing if it's a rookie. It's another thing if it's a valued vet who's also been teammates with other guys in other places before, especially in college. And quite frankly, I mean, every player on the team that has skin in the game is allowed to say something to the coach. That's just part of it. And I think Tibbs has an open door policy. I think these players like playing for him. They can have matter-of-fact conversations, if in fact this conversation even took place. I don't know. I mean, it seems like something happened here where he just said, hey, these other guys can get some more minutes. And I don't think it has anything to do with him saying we're playing too much.
Right.
I think he's saying unselfishly they can play some. And that's what leaders do, man. I think it's a team that really likes each other. I don't know if they're going to go very far just simply because of the Cavaliers and the Celtics. And if they do end up getting to the championship, most likely the Thunder is going to be there. And I think they have trouble against those three teams. We all know that. But maybe with Mitchell Robinson back, their defense will be a little bit better. Well, it has been better. It has been significantly better since he's been back. They're one of the better defensive teams in the league, despite what happened last night and how many points went on. Do you realize the Knicks were 3.5-point favorites last night, and the over-under was 228?
What did it end at right there?
227.
Of course it did.
Dang it.
I mean, they're on top of this.
Once we go into overtime, man, we got to win here.
Yeah. The one thing, too, Boomer, and I think you bring up an excellent point. I think the aggregators, sports talk people, they see a quote, right, and don't even give it any thought as to what he's actually saying, and they interpret it their way, and boom, run with it. Like, Bridges is soft, he doesn't want to play this many minutes, and he's asking the head coach. That's not the case. But to me, I still need to see more of an impact from him, at least before he speaks up like that, even if I agree with you that it was more about the bench and less about him. So last night, to me, was a great start. Do you think that without Brunson, this can now open up? I mean, you see Bridges always going nuts after that win.
Well, you would too.
Okay, understood.
Yeah.
But now, can it open up a new, like, when the whole key is Brunson coming back? Can Bridges do something similar? Not that he needs to score 35 points every night, or 33 points every night, but be that impact player with Brunson there on the floor.
Yes, he can. They all can. And again, this is a group of guys that had never played together. Not one of these guys is drafted, by the Knicks. These are all mercenary free agents, trades, things of that nature. And it's going to take a while. They are they're having a great season.
Yeah.
I don't want to diminish anything. Like, I don't know what you want from a team that has been built, rebuilt, and built again by Leon Rose. And they have been an exciting team. They've had a great season. Their frustration and our frustration is that they may not be good enough to play with Cleveland and Boston in the Eastern Conference.
You think they're better than they were a year ago?
I think they are, just simply because Cat is an offensive, he's a juggernaut when he wants it.
Right.
I mean, I don't see – the one thing I will say about these guys, there's only one guy that really, truly controls the game, and that's Jalen Brunson. And, he's the distributor. He's the guy that's going to make everybody better around him. Without him now all of a sudden, other guys, OG, and of course, like last night, Mikal Bridges and Josh Hart, these guys have to step up, and Deuce McBride's got to step up. He's got an opportunity now for the next 2 weeks, at least the next 2 weeks, to be the leader of the team on the court, holding on to the ball and distributing the ball. But look, I just think it's a great season. I just don't know if it's going to end in what we would all were hoping that it was going to end in, and that would be a championship, because you got three major teams right standing in their way. Two of them are in the Eastern Conference.
But at least they have a chance. See, last year, I have this argument with BT all the time. He loved last year's team because he loves DiVincenzo, loved Hartenstein. This year's team, to me, is more talented. So I still think all those things that you're talking about, Boomer, are there in front of them. Like, would I bet the Knicks to win the championship? No, but I like their chances this year better than last year, because if they do max out and continue to improve defensively with Mitchell Robinson, with all the talent that they have, who's to say that they couldn't beat the Celtics or the Cavs?
Maybe if one of these teams loses a major player like the Knicks did last year, one of the reasons that BT loved that team last year, and we all loved that team last year, is because all the guys that got hurt, Julius Randle got hurt, or OG Anunoby got hurt. We had a bunch of guys running around out there about 6'4" or less, showing toughness, which is what we kind of think of ourselves as Knicks fans. We always go back to the 90s. I always go back to the late 60s, early 70s. We were always a tough team when we were good. I would say that, with Josh Hart, Jalen Brunson, I do think Mikal and OG Anunoby are tougher guys. They all have to stay healthy. That's it. That's the only thing. That's going to be the biggest difference for them this year. If they have 6 or 7 totally healthy guys going into the playoffs, and they can make it through the grind to the playoffs, maybe they have a chance if these other teams lose a player or two, like the Knicks lost last year.
60s and 70s, what was that like?
It was awesome.
Yeah?
Yeah, you got to remember, when the 69 Knicks won, the Jets won, the Mets won, I was a Knicks and a Mets fan. And, that was Walt Frazier, that was Willis Reed, Dave DeBusschere, Bradley. It was Dick Barnett. It was all those great players.
Could you watch those games in color? Like,
no,
no. Still
sorry.
Black and white?
I think it was Channel 9, Channel 11, whatever.
Wow.
Or you'd listen to the radio, Marv Albert.
Okay, yeah.
And then, of course, we had the Mets with Tom Seaver, and it was an amazing year for New York sports fans.
Yeah.
That's what I remember most, and I was 8 and 9 years old at the time.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe you were still at East Islip shining there at quarterback.
No. That was much later. But but that's when you form your fandom. It's when you're 8 or 9 years old. And I heard Evan talking about this, that OG Anunoby at the age of 9 was a Carlos Delgado fan.
Yeah, he's a Mets fan. I saw that the other day.
Crazy. And so now we all like OG Anunoby. At least us Mets fans do, even more.
Yeah, I like Anunoby too, but nobody, to me, without Brunson. Remember, last year, obviously, as you mentioned, if they lost Brunson, they had no secondary scoring, no other options. Even with Brunson, I was like, man, without...
But they lost Anunoby. They lost Julius Randle. They lost everybody. And Mitchell Robinson, too, for that matter.
But this year, not that they can replace Brunson, because they cannot, but you could see the other scoring options that they have. Karl Anthony Towns, a clear number 1 scorer on almost any other team, but with the Knicks, because of Brunson, he could be the number 2. And then you look at a guy like Bridges, Boomer. Bridges to me is the key. OG is going to do what he does, and I think he's a good player, but he's not going to be a primary scorer like that. Bridges can take over a game.
Well, I mean, he will. Eventually he will.
Yeah.
I mean, and look, like last night he did.
Yeah, right.
All right. So remember, too, also, Jalen Brunson got hurt at the end of their series against Indiana.
Right.
Remember he broke his hand, I
Yes,
think it was?
yes.
So they lost 4 guys in the middle of the playoffs last year. That can happen this year if they want to go deep. And maybe one of these other teams loses a couple guys. I mean, that's all possible.
You don't want to root for injury, though,
No,
right?
but I did bring you a present this morning.
You did?
Oh, I did bring you a
Something
present.
Rangers?
No, nothing Rangers.
Something Ford, like a little Ford truck?
I don't know why they send me this, but I know this is right up your alley. It's Baseball Digest.
Oh.
You can whip and war your ass off. Here you go.
Look at this. It's my guy, Boomer. Soto. Dude, come on. What a beast he is, huh? Yeah. I love this. There we go
Yeah,
for the
I know you
camera.
do.
You got it. Look
You
at
like it? Yes.
Yeah, Juan Soto. Come on. He looks great, doesn't he?
He does look good, and I knew you would like that.
Thank you.
Do you get that or no?
Yeah, we had one inside.
Oh, you did. I
But
didn't know that.
but I love it, Boomer.
I thought they were just sending it to me.
Maybe you could sign it to me and say, like, to Sal, great working with you. Let's go, Mets.
Well, let's see. We got a long 4 hours together. We'll see how that works. And by the way, so you moved to New Jersey, right?
Yes, I love it.
You
I know
do?
you. I know you love Long Island. Like,
Me and Gio are Long Island
okay,
guys.
well, so am I. I'm from there, and I was always of the mindset like, oh, Long Island, come on, Jersey. I'm not going to Jersey. We had to, due to certain circumstances, move to Jersey, find a better spot. I love it.
You do. What town are you living in?
Montville.
Montville, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
You're
No,
familiar?
Jersey's very nice.
Yeah.
Ugly bridges, but very nice.
Yeah, I mean, and sometimes it smells a little bit. I
Well,
admit.
it does. It smells a lot, especially up here by Newark Airport. I don't know what it is. I don't know what smells over there.
Driving down to the summer show last year, remember Memorial Day, whatever it was, I
Yes.
was like, oh, man, you could just smell it driving down
It was
there.
brutal. I remember coming back from our Garmani event down there last October and driving through all of that. And obviously, it's all sulfur smells, and it's all from those chemical plants over there, whatever the hell's they're cooking over there. Who knows? But man, it is brutal up here by the airport.
Yeah, all right, but still, I
But
don't
no,
really.
a lot of nice areas, man. I love down there in Red Bank area and Due Process and Colts Neck. I mean, that place, those areas are beautiful.
Yeah. I love the golf stuff. I was even brushing up on like Fat Perez. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like, I think maybe he one day could play in Jersey at a golf course. Fat Perez, I
Yeah,
love
sure
him.
he will. I mean, I'm sure Gio would love to play with him.
Yeah, no, that's why I want to do my homework to be prepared to work with you. So I figured I might as well watch some Fat Perez videos.
Do you know, since Gio's not here, do you know how insane he is about golf now?
I hear you guys all the time. Yes.
So when we started back in 2018, and God forbid I brought up hockey or golf, I mean, it was just like dead air. Like he didn't want to talk about it at all.
Right.
And then I think it was about 3 years ago, around this time of year, I think it was April of 2022, maybe it was 21, but I think it was 22. I took him out he took me out to Save Old Golf Course out there. Next thing you know, he is like caught the bug. Like he's going to simulators.
He loves it. I know. And then I look at him like, man, what's happened? He was like, oh, don't worry. One day it'll happen to you. Hey, look at you. Now, was this after the second child was born? Because you know what I'm saying. Like, maybe I got to get there with the wife,
No,
with
I
the
think,
kid, and
I
get the hell out of the
think it
house.
was all before Summer was born.
What do you think? What do you think?
Was it or was
It
it
was after.
Oh, it was after.
Yeah, when he realized basically his life was over. So
Oh,
he needed
yes.
something else.
There you go. And he wanted to do something else. Yeah, look at us. We have people clapping and
And you
everything.
got-
It's
it
just
sounds
great.
like fun. I mean, BT and I have been waiting for the invite. We want to do a little foursome. You, Gio, me, and BT.
Really? I don't know if I could sit. Do you guys argue off the air as much as you argue on the air?
We don't even argue on the air anymore. I just don't think we have it in us. We try to just talk about sports and have some fun with it.
Right.
Sometimes there's disagreements. That's naturally going to happen.
Yes.
No, off the air we don't even talk to each other.
Are you a Giant or a Jet fan?
I root for both. I grew up a Falcon fan.
Oh, that's right. You're a Falcon fan. That's
Well, not anymore, but I can't consider myself a Falcon fan.
right. Okay, so you kind of root for both of those teams?
Yes.
You have any? All right. So if you were your Giant fan friends in your life,
Yeah.
we were talking about this yesterday. Do they want Aaron Rodgers or no?
Oh, we want to talk about Rodgers?
Do they want him or don't they? Like your friends, like the buddies that you know that are really hardcore Giant
I think it's
fans.
kind of split, honestly. I think with Rodgers, some people just can't stand him, and some people think, well, he's the best quarterback to give us a chance to win. I think the majority of Giant fans, at least from the feel that I've gotten, not even just in my personal life, but on the air, I think they don't want Aaron Rodgers here. For me, I loved him with the Jets, Boomer. I thought it was the right move to make. I don't think it's the right fit for the Giants at all. And now we got to wait on his decision. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I know. There's always something with Aaron, and maybe he's got everybody in a holding pattern. I think he's probably. I don't know what the money looks like. I don't know if it's a 2-year, $80 million deal. I'm thinking that if he goes to Pittsburgh, I think he plays 2 more years. If he goes to the Giants and the Giants end up drafting one of these quarterbacks, then I think he may only play 1 year here.
Okay, so then let me ask you. You're the expert. You played quarterback at a high level in the NFL. Do you like the idea of Rodgers for the Giants, which could potentially prevent that? Because to me, I want that rookie quarterback, and I want to see him on the field at some point this year. You like the Rodgers setup?
Well, I'm selfishly, I want Aaron Rodgers here because he gives us a million things to talk about. It's a very easy thing to deal with. I mean, honestly, it's just you just watch and listen, and he would be great here. He was great here for that aspect of the Jets, and it's unfortunate that he ended up getting hurt. But there were games that last year you saw the real Aaron Rodgers. I don't care what anybody says, and you saw he and Devontae Adams doing their thing. So he's still got plenty of football left. My guess now, and I think Gio was right yesterday, and the more I read and the more I listen to, it sounds like he's going to go to Pittsburgh.
Right. Well, wouldn't you? Of the two choices?
If I were going to go to a place where I think I still have 2 years left in me, or I'd like to play for 2 more years, I think I would end up going to Pittsburgh, just simply because I don't think that they have an alternative, and they don't have a high enough draft. They may draft somebody in the 2nd or 3rd round, who knows, but that kid's not going to be ready to play for a couple of years.
Yeah, from the Giants' perspective, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like Russell Wilson or whoever else, okay, who cares? Start the season, play week 6, week 8, and then eventually transition to the next guy and see if this regime can finally draft and develop
I know what you
quarterback.
want. You want the Kurt Warner model.
Yes, that's exactly
what it is.
Yes, I've heard that being brought up before. Boomer, as you said that. Yeah, I want the Kurt Warner model.
But I don't think Aaron Rodgers wants the Kurt Warner model. That's the thing. Aaron Rodgers is going to want to be the alpha male in the room because that's who he is. He's going to want to get paid because that's what's going on in the NFL. He's worth $40 or more million a year as a starting quarterback in the NFL, especially one that has the pedigree of him. You may be sick of him, but unfortunately or fortunately for him, that's just the way it goes in the NFL. So I kind of think he's going to go to Pittsburgh, and I think Pittsburgh desperately needs him, especially when you sign DK Metcalf.
Yeah.
And you better have an alpha male in that room with those 2 wide receivers. They are needy wide receivers. They are loud wide receivers. They complain as wide receivers. And you know what? If you have a B type back there as a quarterback, that's not going to work.
What about the idea? I heard Al talking about this. I thought it was ruled
Al?
out. Yeah, well, on the warm-up show, he mentioned Diana Rossini's report about Rodgers potentially still being in play for Minnesota, where I thought the door was closed on that yesterday because they named McCarthy the starter. That's what I thought. I could be wrong.
Here's the thing about that. Here's the thing about that. It's kind of like the Giants. It's very enticing to think that I want to go play for Kevin O'Connell and I want to play in that offense. That would be great. But they already have their alternative as their future starting quarterback, which means it could be a 1-year deal and 1 year and gone. Just like if you were the Giants and the Giants draft, like a Shedeur Sanders or go up and get Cam Ward, guess what? Then you're done here after 1 year. And I think maybe he wants a 2-year deal, and that's what Pittsburgh can offer him.
Selfishly, I would love to see Rodgers in Minnesota because, I just think NFL storyline. I know what you're saying about New York. I'm kind of Rodgers'd out at this point. We saw it with the Jets. But if Minnesota, then he plays the Packers twice. He follows the Favre path. I think for the NFL, that would be interesting. I still think ultimately ends up with Pittsburgh. It makes too much sense. They need a real quarterback. He's a veteran quarterback looking for a team to win. They have the weapons.
And they don't have a young alternative.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
He's the guy.
They don't have the draft pick to go get the young alternative that is going to, unless Jackson Dart falls to them or something, but I don't necessarily know that's going to happen. Somebody's probably going to reach for Jackson as well. So they're probably going to be 3 quarterbacks taken in the first round. It's going to be really... If I had to go back to last year's, and we'll break here in a second, when last year when the Giants were doing off-season Hard Knocks, and you saw Brian Daboll light up about Jaden Daniels,
Right.
Cam Ward to me is the guy that he would light up over, not Shedeur Sanders.
Okay.
Just because Cam Ward is more of an explosive athlete and who can throw, who's played a ton of college games. And I think if I had to guess, I would think that would be the guy that they really want.
But then why go hard after Stafford? Why seeming Rodgers plan B? You think it's always been about one of those guys plus Cam Ward?
Yes. Now,
Okay.
I think if they got Matthew Stafford and it was going to be a 2-year deal, then maybe not. And maybe it's one of these top-end defensive players. Maybe Travis Hunter falls to them. Maybe Mason Graham. Mason Graham is going to be sitting there. And that's going to be a really, because that kid, the defensive tackle out of Michigan, everybody says he's a can't miss, high energy guy. And if, it'd be really, really unique if I were the Giants thinking like, man, I got to rebuild this defensive line, and we got a good defensive line. I can make it even better. I mean, that's going to be a tough decision for them. I think if he's there and the quarterback that they initially wanted is not there.
Okay.
I mean, they're going to eat Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, Mason Graham, Will Campbell. Those are the 4 players that I think can come in and start immediately. All 4 of those guys are going to be, one of those guys is going to be there for the Giants.
Right.
Plus one of the 2 quarterbacks, most likely.
Right. And it's just a mess. For me, they screwed up last year by not taking a quarterback. I said that they need to take one. Now they almost feel forced to take a quarterback in a draft that doesn't really have that many good quarterbacks.
Well, the problem with last year there was Malik Neighbors, can't miss, explosive wide receiver. You need a guy like that.
Now you have more than Penix or Bo Nix or McCarthy.
Look, I was a Penix fan.
Yeah, I know,
but I don't think that he fits what Brian Daboll wants to do. I think that Cam Ward does. Shedeur Sanders doesn't.
Okay, so then trade up and go get him.